What the fuck, yo? Yo, I'm still shaking. What the hell is about to happen? They finally turned Casa Amor up. It's funny because me and my sister were sitting there watching it like, this is the most boring Casa Amor ever. Then we get to the fucking end. What the fuck is about to happen? I know y'all had the same reaction as me. I had so many emotions this episode. So many. I'm still flabbergasted. I don't know what to say. But shout out to y'all as always, continuing to show love. Please show love on this one. This one right here could be the one to give me the 10K. Thumbs up the video. Do it right now. As y'all saw with that last one, the 1.3 likes that we got on that last, the one that we did a couple nights ago. Do it again. Let's go. Be in the comments. I know you're going to be in the comments. Subscribe if you are new. Please do that. If you are new as well, and even if you're here with me as well, and don't know if you're not subscribed or not and don't have your post notifications on, turn it on now. Do it right now. Go follow my TikTok too. I'm about to go post a snippet over there. So go show some love there. But I'm not going to waste too much time. We got some shit to get into. Let's go. All right. So we get back to where everybody's mingling and stuff. And at Casa Amor, we get Elan. He goes to pull Cierra for a chat at the island. And she's asking her she ends up asking him who he would have chosen in the game. And he ends up saying that he would have chosen her and Iris. And Cierra's like, we essentially have a lot in common. Like her and Iris have a lot in common. And they're both Libras. His mom, we find out his mom and his past girlfriends have all been Libras. So Cierra, it just makes sense. It's like, okay, there's some commonality here. And he likes Libras. He's a Leo. Shout out to you. If you don't know, I'm a Leo as well. Birthday's coming soon. Like I said, let's hit 10K before my birthday. But he's a Leo as well. And she loves fire signs, as you should. But we find out that he's been in a 3-year relationship as well. The one that was most recently ended. That one, he essentially ended that, moved to Miami, and pretty much got himself established to the point where now he's ready to date. Like he's gotten everything established to where he's ready to actually find love. And I feel like as a man, you should. I feel like no man should be trying to court a woman if you ain't got your shit lined up. Because no woman wants a man that does not have his shit lined up. So do that. But he then says, too, that he feels like relationships are built off of shared experiences, and he needs that to feel connected with the woman that he wants to be with. And I agree with that as well. He's actually pretty well equipped. Like, I think he's the one that's 23 years old. He seems like he has a lot of maturity. He's got a lot of life figured out, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. So this would be a good one for Cierra to actually pursue. But he says it's important to have their own independence as well in a relationship, as well as just having those sacred moments together, which I agree as well. A lot of couples that are only identified with just being together, that is kind of toxic in a way. Like you got to have your own things going on outside of just your relationship. And I feel like that too. That's why I feel like you shouldn't be living together until you're married, honestly, in my opinion, because you want to miss each other at some point. That's what I feel. Me personally, I would want to miss my girlfriend. That's what I would want. So I feel like that is very, very true. But she then talks about how her independence has intimidated guys in the past because they essentially want her to feel like she needs them. And she's like, I don't need y'all. I want y'all. And I agree with that as well. But he then pretty much echoes those same sentiments. They're enjoying each other's company. And she states in her confessionals that she's enjoying it. And she's trying to avoid thinking about what Nick is doing. It doesn't last, but we'll get to it. But Iris and Zach, they're having a conversation. This is the first time we've seen them conversing. She ends up asking him to tell her a little bit about himself. And he was struggling at first. I'm like, you can't tell her about yourself. But he starts talking about how he's family oriented. He lives with his brother because essentially he's never lived alone. And she says that she doesn't like living alone and doesn't want to live alone. I love living alone. I've loved living alone. I lived alone for about 3 years, almost 4. I probably would still be living alone right now if the economy wasn't what it is. But we make do with what we got. But he hates cooking. We find out he hates cooking, but she loves it. So could work because she likes doing that type of stuff. She says she likes acts of service. She ends up asking him, or he ends up asking her if she likes traveling. And she says she does. She wants to go to Australia. He actually has been to Australia. So they're connecting on a lot of commonalities. She's liking him. Good for her. But we then move back to the villa. Well, we got Gracyn and TJ talking. They're talking and he's trying to make connections with her, which I found funny because as she pointed out, He didn't like her kiss in that challenge, and she let him know that you did not like my kiss. And you could tell by her energy she ain't feeling him. Like, she was not feeling him at all, and it was all over her face. And it wasn't even really on her face, it was just her energy. Like, you could tell she was disconnected. But TJ, he's essentially trying to make his connections because he knows he has to. But then we move to Huda and JD. This is the first time that we've seen Huda in a while, because Huda didn't get too much camera time yesterday. But she's sitting down talking to him. She's like, I'm sure you know I'm a mom. We know. And he does. But then he tells her that he's dated women with kids in the past, and he pretty much states that it didn't really matter to him because it's more about the open communication, which is true. And I'm glad that he stated that, because, I mean, if she was upfront with Jeremiah, things might have changed and things might have worked for the better, because I feel like that alone I don't want to say stunted, but it definitely heightened more of her insecurities, where she wasn't as secure in what they had, which is what led to her crashing out and being so threatened. But not only that, she was insecure already, so that just didn't help. But she's not flirting with him, which let me know that she truly don't feel like, I don't feel like she's really into him like that. Because as we all see with Huda, she typically leads into that flirtation. But I do want to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she's trying to learn. Maybe she is trying to learn. I don't know. I like to believe that she's trying to learn, but it's just a different approach than what we're used to seeing with her. But she ends up stating that she can't fake things and she can't hide things. It's always on her face, which is true, as we've seen so far this season. But like I said, I'm getting friend vibes from them. Honestly, he seems interested in her, but I just don't see it from Huda, as of what we've seen from Huda. But she gets in her confessionals and states, like, it's nice to finally be in the zone where I'm actually getting to know other people and get to talk to other people. Again, Huda, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? That's your fault, because you came on the show zoned in on one person. But she's enjoying herself now, and he ends up stating that he's never matched with somebody who matches his I don't give a fuck energy. And I'm like, do you really have that? To me, I feel like he's kind of playing a formula as he's seen how she moves in the house, and she kind of moves in the house like she don't give a fuck. I feel like he's doing certain things to make her feel like what she's done is okay. And he sounds, and to me, it makes it seem like he's pretty much letting her know that I can accept you for all of that mess that you got going on, which is not healthy for her. She don't need this relationship, because he don't seem like he's really going to tell her the truth. Like, he don't seem like he's the type of person that would hold her accountable, which is not good for Huda. She don't need this in her relationship. But we get everybody winding down for nighttime. Amaya, she ends up telling the girls about her conversation with Zach, and she enjoyed it. Andreina, she's talking about how her and Bryan had kisses. They didn't have any scenes tonight. They seem like they're probably solidified, which is why they didn't get too much camera time. But Cierra, she's talking about how she's sick to her stomach thinking about Nick being in bed with another woman. Cierra, get over it. Nick, he's over there telling TJ that he's attracted to Jaden. And she's over there telling Coco that her and Nick's conversation didn't flow as consistently as hers and Austin's had. And I was like, interesting, because that's kind of how I felt. Like, watching them, I'm going to elaborate later on. But I just saw a little bit more of a disconnect between those two. But we'll get to that in a minute. But Taylor is telling the boys that it's going to feel like he's cheating, sleeping with somebody new in the bed. And then we get everybody going to sleep. And the only couples that actually were physical was Andreina and Bryan. They were in bed cuddling. So we get the next day, everybody's waking up. Sierra's waking up talking about she missing her man. Please, Cierra, please. But Bryan, that's why it's going to get interesting. It's going to get interesting. But Bryan then tells Chris that him and Andreina's cuddle felt very natural. And I can believe it, because they just seem like they make sense. But Huda, she tells the girls that she's liking JD so far. I mean, good. I mean, you're starting on a base level right here. It's not too much. You didn't lean into physicality, but I just believe that's because you don't really like him like that. But maybe I'm wrong. But Ace ends up making Coco breakfast. He ain't make nothing for Vanna, which was funny to me. But it's funny also that he's making Taylor's girl at the moment breakfast, which is interesting. But she likes the breakfast. She said the shit looked good. I said Jane. I guess I meant Jaden. But Jaden was talking about how all the men are gentlemen and stuff, and you don't have to ask them to do anything. They just do it themselves, because that's what they've been doing all season. That's just really what it is. Are they really gentlemen? That's to be determined. But JD ends up bringing Amaya and Huda breakfast, and Amaya says she's excited to talk to the other guys for the rest of the day. Obviously, she has to get to work because she's at risk of going home. But Chelley, she talks about how she's missing Ace, and Olandria ends up stating that she hopes that they went to bed crying. But the Casa Amor boys, they talk about their sleeping arrangements and whatever with the girls. Zach talks about how slow Olandria pretty much moves, And he mentions how she had stated that it took her a week, essentially, for her and Taylor to actually have their first real kiss. And he like, I ain't got a week. You don't. So we then see Amaya. She pulls JD for a chat. First time they're having a chat, she thanks him for breakfast. She then says in her confessionals, I got 24 hours. I pretty much got to move. My game plan is to talk to these people and see what actually flows. And if I really feel something, that's the right way to go, Amaya. Just talk, see how y'all are vibing. So she starts talking with him and she tells him how like everybody in the villa pretty much doesn't understand her and she's misunderstood, which I believe she is 100%. And with Amaya, I'm going to state it right here. Well, I'm going to wait until we get to it. But she then tells him that she's not clingy, but when she's with her partner, she just loves being touched. She likes physical affection. Like she likes to be up under her partner and she likes them to just show her love. And he talks about how he naturally noticed that good energy from her. Like he said that she has really good vibes, good energy. She's passionate about everything and he appreciates that. And this is where I'm about to say what I was about to say. Y'all know how much Amaya has grown on me. And I don't want to say grown on me because I didn't dislike her. Even when she was crashing out, I still didn't dislike her. But she grew a soft spot in my heart. And when I tell you, she about got me. She about got me in this scene because she gets emotional when he said that. And when I say that, like you could tell Amaya is just a genuine. She has a pure soul. And you can tell her heart is pure. And it's just like you want to protect her. I'm pretty sure y'all feel the same way. I naturally feel like I just want to go give her a hug. Like I want to just protect her and make sure that she's okay. And she starts crying because like this is the first time she feels seen, truthfully. Like she just opened up to him and he was receptive of that. He told her to continue, like just get it all out. Like if you got to be emotional, get emotional. And she was like, it just makes her feel good. And he then tells her essentially, let it out. You can be yourself. That was a nice scene. I really enjoyed that. But TJ and Vanna, they start talking. And they're talking about being close with their families and stuff. And he talks about the age difference between his parents and how his dad is getting older. And it makes him think like, I need to like kind of hurry up essentially to show him that I can be successful. I got a wife. I got somebody here. I can start a family. I relate to that. I mean, I feel like a lot of us can relate to that the older we get and we don't really have established like relationships. We don't have kids yet. We're not married yet. Me and my sister talk about this all the time. Like my parents, they always be like, when we gonna have some grandkids? I'm like, we gonna get them to you. We just got to find the right people right now. But I feel him. I relate to him on that. But they were having a good conversation. She says that she enjoyed the conversation and he's the full package and he's a green flag. I said, that's interesting because the first conversation they had yesterday, she was like writing him off. But they're vibing right now, and I'm assuming probably because she realizes that Ace don't fuck with her. But Coco and Ace, they're upstairs talking, and it's funny because he takes her to him and Shelley's spot. So they're complimenting each other on how good they look. He tells her how gorgeous she looks with those colors that are highlighting her skin. She's a beauty. Like, she is a beauty. She's in my top 6 of all time when it comes to beautiful women on this show. And if you want to know what my top 6 is, her, who did I have? Her, Chelley, Olandria, Imani. Who else did I have? Her, Chelley, Imani, Isada from season 1. If y'all don't remember her, that's a beauty. And then Serena. Like, that's my top 6. But she then says that did I say Olandria? Olandria's in there too, but she noticed that Ace is not a morning person. And he was like, yeah, I'm not. But she ends up thanking him for cooking her breakfast. And he ends up asking, like, what are your favorite places to eat in LA and yada, yada, yada. And they both are from LA. And she's like, I've been everywhere. I could literally take you anywhere and I could show you around. And he like, you can show me around my city. Like, she's like, yeah, I can do what I got to do. Like, essentially, she's dominant. He can't control her. That's one thing he won't be able to do with her. You could tell she's very secure in herself and she got a dominant energy. But she talks about all the things that they could do. They both kind of relate on both being artsy. They like painting and stuff like that. But Coco then says that Ace has a hard exterior, that she feels like on the inside he's soft. But she's still exploring her connection with Ace as well as the one with Taylor. We'll talk about that later on in a minute. But she didn't ask him, like, if he's the type of person to date multiple people at one time. And he essentially says, like, yeah, I mean, we can do it. But whenever we do it, and I feel like I'm going towards one direction, I will make that clear that I want to be exclusive. But she then says that she's intentional when she dates. Like, she says, I'm dating to be married. I'm right there with you. But Olandria and Zach, they're having their conversation, and he ends up talking about how, or at least where she wants to live permanently. Like, where do you want to raise kids? Good question. But she says that she likes living in Texas. She says she loves the southern states because of the weather and the food. I agree with you as well. But they start talking about the food and stuff. But he then tells her that he wanted to kiss her in the challenge. And she's like, oh, really? She's like, maybe today. Olandria, you know you ain't gonna give him no kiss. But he was like outside of the challenge. Because she said maybe today in the challenge. And he was like outside of the challenge. Like, are we gonna do it outside of the challenge? She's like, no, I just don't move like that right now. Like, she, as we all know, Olandria, she's not super physical quick. Even though I'm pretty sure if Taylor wanted to, she might have reciprocated that. But Taylor don't want to, and we already know that, but we'll get to that in a minute. But he was pretty appreciative and understanding of her, pretty much stating her boundaries or whatever, and she loves that he was respecting those boundaries. But she then gets to her confessionals and states that she wanted to lean into this experience with Casa more, but she still misses her boo. I'm like, see, this is where I knew, like, the way they was literally editing this, you could already tell what was going to happen. And not only that, that damn disclaimer that they put, Love Island's social medias put out, pretty much telling people, like, remember, these people are human beings. I knew what was going down because they already know how much people love Olandria. Like, they know how much we love her. But Taylor and Clarke, they're having a conversation, and he talks about missing his family, and they're connecting on animals because she likes animals too. They have a lot in common. But she ends up asking him, like, are those the two things that you miss? And he was like, yeah, the two things that I miss is my family and my horses. And they clipped this right after she just said that she misses Taylor. And he did not mention Olandria. I don't know if it was specific to that moment, but it just sounded shady, just the way they clipped it. But Ace and Nick, they're over there watching them conversing, and they're pretty much kind of analyzing it. And they start talking about animals, Taylor and Clarke. And he's sitting there laughing and stuff, like his body language. Like, this is the most engaged I've seen Taylor with a woman on this show. Like, the most engaged. They had good vibes. Like, they were bouncing off each other. It just felt natural, which was very interesting and very telling. Even though we all knew what we know about how he feels about Olandria, but this shit right here just made it too clear. Too clear. And I was like, yeah, Clarke's probably the best fit for him. But Ace and Nick are talking about how they just want the best for him. And Ace ends up asking Nick, who did he think is the best fit for Taylor between Olandria and Clarke? Nick ends up stating that he loves Olandria, but Taylor is a go with the flow, and Clarke seems more relaxed. And that is true. And it made sense because I was talking to my sister, as y'all know, me and my sister watch it together. It just made so much more sense, too, why they don't work. I feel like, and I've been saying this all season, I feel like he's intimidated by Olandria. And the reason why I say that is because Olandria just seems so well put together, and she is. She's well put together. She's super mature. She seems like she got everything wrapped up. Taylor is goofy. Taylor gives off little boy energy. She gives off grown, sophisticated woman that needs a grown-ass man that is established. Like, she need like a CEO. She needs somebody that really got their own type of money, move like they got their own type of money, and that's not Taylor. That's not Taylor. This right here is a good match for him. Even Coco is not a good match for him because Coco, she gives off that same vibe that Olandria does. Like, she need a baller, shot caller. She need that type of person. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what Nick was saying. But Jaden and Austin, they're having a conversation. They both seem like they got air in their heads, so they might be a match. But they start talking about superpowers and whatever. They just don't. You can tell they don't take too much too serious, which is not a bad thing in a relationship too. You got to be able to joke and not take everything serious. But I want to see them have a conversation of depth because I want to see if Austin actually has it. Because I don't think Austin has anything going on upstairs. But Casa more, you got Cierra, Olandria, and Huda. They're talking about worrying about Amaya because she got 24-hour time limit, which I was like, this is strategic placement because, as we all know, Olandria, you also are at risk as well, and you just don't know it right now. But Cierra then says that she's surprised that the boys haven't really pulled Amaya like that. But Cierra starts running through scenarios on what could happen if Amaya ends up getting picked, aka somebody else might end up leaving. Strategic placement. That's good editing. But they said they just don't like knowing what's gonna happen. They don't like not knowing what's gonna happen. But Olandria then talks about how she really likes Zach, but she's still reserved, aka because she's still thinking about Taylor and wants Taylor. But she then asked Cierra if she really likes Elan. And she was like, yeah, I mean, I think I do, but I'm still comparing him with Nick. But Cierra then says that she likes how Elan she likes how he thinks. And he makes her essentially feel like she got to keep up with him, which is what you need. That's what you need, Cierra. You don't need somebody that you dominate every conversation that you got going on. You need somebody that's going to literally challenge you mentally. that's going to help you get better. You being with somebody who's dense and really ain't got much substance to them, that's not going to be conducive to you in a relationship. That's not going to, and that's the thing when you're in a relationship, whether that's with a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, a man and a woman, y'all need to be together as a union to make each other better. Y'all want to be an empire. Y'all want to literally get up here and get this money together. Y'all want to make each other better. If you ain't with that, if you ain't got that type of energy with the person that you with, you just wasting your time, honestly. But she states that this essentially makes her question if her and Nick's conversations have the same substance, and they don't. They don't. Y'all don't be talking about shit. You and Elan be talking about shit. You need to listen to him. But Huda then says that she ends up asking her, do you think that it'll always be a lingering thought about Nick? Which I found interesting, that this was actually refreshing to see Huda actually engaging in a conversation that had nothing to do with her. Good for you, Huda. Good for you, Huda. I still don't like you, but good for you. But Chris ends up getting a text. Jaden gets a text at the same time, and it's about the recoupling. It pretty much lets him know anybody not chosen, male or female, will be vulnerable. Amaya, as we know, her options are JD and Zach. Olandria is not even talking to anybody at this point. Amaya is in there working. She is in there working. So her and Zach go into a room to go have a conversation. And she talks about how she essentially wanted to really pull him, but she didn't want to be too overbearing because she feels like, but she does feel like she can be herself around him, essentially. And he says, like, yeah, you put in the effort to speak to people. And I like that. I like seeing that you actually are engaged and wanting to actually get to know other people. But he then mentions how him and Olandria have similarities as well. So he's pretty much letting her know he's like 50-50 with the two of them. But he then talks about how he hasn't kissed Olandria yet, but he has kissed her. She leans in and pretty much stays like, I want some more. And he gives it to her. I don't know how I feel about her leaning into this and really like kind of like, I don't want to say asking for it, but asking for it. But I mean, he gave it back to her. The look he gave her after it, I was like, I'm like, do you really like her? Because he made a face that was like stoic, but she's sitting there giddy and laughing. But then he cracks a smile and then goes back to stoic and then he cracks a smile. Y'all let me know if y'all caught that too. I don't know, but we'll see. But he then says in his confessionals, like, their kiss was more intimate this time and he likes her more and more the more he talks to her. So I'm like, maybe he do like her. But I don't know. We'll see. Only time will tell. But do not hurt her. You hurt her, I'm going to cuss your ass out on here. But Coco and Taylor, they're checking in. He was like, I've been meaning to talk to you all day. She ends up asking him about his and Clarke's conversation. And he tells her that it was good. They got a lot in common. Taylor then tells her that her and Clarke, well, no, he didn't tell her this. He told us. He says the both of them are beautiful girls and he hates essentially being in a love triangle. I doubt you hate that. I doubt it. I'm pretty sure you loving it. But Coco ends up asking how he feels about his previous couple, aka him and Olandria. He says, I said, keep it real. I want to hear what you really feel about you and your couple. But she then says, like, are you missing that connection? And he says, of course. And he then said, because in that moment where she said that, I read that wrong. And I was like, are you missing that connection? I was like, is he really missing that connection? But then she was pretty much talking about, like, what are you really missing about that connection? But he was like, we've been here essentially for like 4 weeks, but I just don't know what she's over there doing. And I can't really worry about what she's doing because I'm trying to get to know you. And that would essentially be rude. True. That is true. But she was like, that's real. But he then says that he's just living in the moment and he really isn't thinking about her, Olandria. And I believe him. I believe he ain't thinking about Olandria, which is very telling because she over there thinking about him. She can't even function over there without thinking about him. But she didn't ask him how he feels about tonight. And he was like, here we go again. It's a lot of pressure. We then get a scene with Cierra, Chelley, and Olandria, the trio. They're sitting over there and Cierra sitting over there crying about Nick. I said, Cierra, please stand up. Please stand up. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. That couldn't have been that much to make you. I'm like, Cierra, please. But she says she feels overwhelmed. And like I'm just alluding to, you shouldn't have fucked him. Like, even if it was 30 seconds, you shouldn't have fucked him because that's where you fucked up. But she goes running upstairs and I'm like, essentially probably to cry. But she's in the confessionals crying, talking about how she's worried about what's over there happening in the villa. And Nick could possibly be making a stronger connection. Interesting. But Nick and Jaden, they're talking and they talk about both of them pretty much growing up swimming and whatever. And they're goofing off, talking about tattoos. And honestly, I'm not feeling a connection. Like, you could tell he's interested in her, but I just wasn't seeing it from her. Like, I was not seeing it from her at all. I was like, she don't seem like she's interested in him. Like, maybe she might be physically attracted to him, but you could tell that's not enough for her. So he's in the confessionals talking about how he feels like she has strong feelings, or at least has feelings for him, or at least is attracted to him, and he's interested in getting to know her, and he might actually want to couple up with her. I said, interesting. But Cierra's in the makeup room with Chelley, crying about the recoupling, talking about she feels sick. But everybody else is getting ready for the night now. It's time for recoupling. So Coco ends up telling us, I think she told us this, or no, she told the girls that she's conflicted between Taylor and Ace on who she wants to choose. And Nick then tells Ace that tonight is going to be his first night on the chopping block. And Ace is like, I mean, no, you're not, because obviously she's feeling you. Is she, Ace? Psych! But she then tells the girls, and I'm talking about Jaden, she tells the girls that there might be a stronger attraction between her and Nick, but she's like, there's other factors in there as well. Yeah, I might be physically attracted, but what else? Which, I mean, I'm glad she's playing into those factors as well. But Chelley claims that Chris and Ace are very similar, which I'm like, I don't know how, but I'm like, okay. But Zach essentially is 50-50 between Amaya and Olandria. So we then see Chelley and Olandria talking one last time. But I don't know. We'll see. But Chelley then says that she misses Ace, but she's trying to explore with Chris, and she does like Chris. She's like, I like Chris, and it's kind of scary because I'm like, if you was here on day one, we could have actually rocked out. Like, this could have been something that we could have probably locked in on, and she probably wouldn't be entertaining Ace. I don't know. We'll see. But that's basically what she was stating, and she's like, I'm in a pickle. Olandria's like, yeah, you are. I said, Olandria, you really in a pickle. Like, you got to get out of that because you don't know what you got coming for you. But Zach then is telling JD about him and Amaya kissing. He's smiling, talking about it. He then says that he would kiss Olandria, but she's respecting her connection and she has her own boundaries. But he then says that he's nervous about the decision that he has to make tonight because obviously he's got two women's their lives in this game essentially in his hands. But Amaya and Olandria, they're having a conversation. They're talking about being nervous or whatever, and Amaya pretty much tells her, like, I've been doing my best to talk to everybody. Like, I've been talking to everybody. I've been talking to Zach. And she then tells her, too, that they kissed, which that's why I love Amaya. She's real. She's probably, in my opinion, the realest one in the house. Like, when she says she puts her emotions on her sleeves, she ain't lying. She gonna tell you what she really feels. And I appreciated her coming to tell her this, because she didn't have to tell Olandria this, because we all know Olandria don't really feel it like that for Zach. It's not like it would bother her anyways, or at least it shouldn't. But we'll get to that in a minute. But she told her, like, we kissed. And she basically did that to not have Olandria feeling some type of way about it, which is some girl shit. Huda don't know nothing about that. But Olandria said that I appreciate you coming to me and telling me that because you didn't have to do it, because I would have done the same thing for you. But Amaya then says, like, she was nervous because she just didn't want Olandria to feel some type of way about it. And she just doesn't like carrying that on her. Basically, that stuff was weighing on her, not telling her. But Olandria says she's just trying not to stress herself out, essentially. But Ace and his minions, they're over there plotting. And they're picking Taylor's brain about what his options are, what he's going to do. Taylor's like, Clarke is beautiful, and the conversations flow. Again, something else that he has not, out of his own mouth, done about Olandria. Talking about how Clarke is beautiful and how the connections are really flowing for real, for real. But Ace is stating that we just want you to be happy, whether that's with Olandria or not. Taylor then says in his confessionals that Clarke is easy to vibe with, and if Coco doesn't pick him, he hopes that she does. But Austin's over there picking Jaden's brain about Nick. She pretty much tells him that she wants to be transparent. There are both qualities that both of them have that she's looking for. She does like him. She reassures him that. Austin reassures her that she likes him as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. But Ace, he's talking to Coco, telling her how good she look, and she do. And he ends up asking her how she's feeling, and she's like, I mean, it's heavy. Like, we know we got a lot of shit that's about to happen. But he then tells her, pretty much asks her, like, who are you interested in romantically? And she says, obviously, I'm into you and Taylor, essentially, for different reasons. She just strikes me as the type, as a lot of y'all said in my comments last night, she and Clarke, it just gives they like black men, which, I mean, I love it. But that's why those two options are their options, because those are the only two in the house. But he then asked her, like, where's your head at? And she's like, I'm figuring it out. I said, I'm glad you ain't tell him because he wants to know that. Let him sweat. But Taylor and Clarke, they're in soul ties, and they're having another good conversation. He told her that she looked cute and she's wearing his favorite color. Again, he's never complimented Olandria at all. But even if he was going to do it, he probably had to be coached to do it. But that just tells you he's feeling Clarke right now. But Nick ends up telling Jaden that he has a great relationship with Cierra, but he's giving the girl that he wants 100% in here. And he's like, if it doesn't work out, it just doesn't work out. But he then tells her that since he took the blindfold off, she's been his number one in this villa right now. And she, like I said, seems disconnected. Like, even in this scene, she don't really seem like she's really feeling it for him. But she essentially says in her confessional, she's 50-50. Now it is time to recouple. Casa Amor is up first. We got the girls. This one was emotional. The next one was crazy. It was messy. But Amaya, she stands in the fire pit as she's the single girl. And Chelley is tearing up immediately already. Chris ends up getting a text that if the boys have a better connection than their current couple, please stand up. Amaya's up there crying. And Zach eventually stands up, which means he is now coupled up with Amaya, which then leaves Olandria single. And I was conflicted. I was happy as fuck for Amaya, but I was sad as fuck for Olandria. Even though she been getting on my nerves with this Taylor shit. That's a beautiful woman. I want to see her every day. And then not only that, I just love who she is as a person. I just wish she would wake up when it comes to Taylor. Like, wake up. Wake up. But I was sad. I was conflicted. But obviously the girls start crying because they already know what's about to happen. Olandria then tells Amaya to come get her man because she was still standing up there and Olandria was sitting down. But she tells the girls as they're crying, it's okay. Y'all don't see me crying. It's okay. And she's strong. She was trying her best just to hold it all together. But Olandria goes and stands in front of them and pretty much says her final speech. Amaya is still pleading to Olandria, like pretty much letting her know, like, I'm sorry. And she's like, I'm okay. I'm not mad at you. Like, you did what you were supposed to do. She said, I appreciate you telling me about the kiss. Now, this I did not like. I did not like this because to me, it seemed like she was kind of slick shading Zach for not coming to her and telling her that she kissed Amaya. And the reason why I'm stating this is because, Olandria, you know you didn't want him. So if he kissed Amaya, what's it to you? Like, and I don't feel like he was wrong for not saying anything because, like I said, I feel like he sensed what we all knew. You are really waiting to go back to Taylor. So why would I keep trying to pursue you like that heavy if I know if you end up coupling up with me, the minute we get back over there, you dropping me like a bad habit. So why not go and explore Amaya, who is actually available to actually make a connection? So I didn't like that. But where am I at? I done lost where I was at. Hold on. But Zach picked up on those vibes, and he's pretty much pleading his case. He's like, I know y'all have all been here together, but I feel like a villain right now. And he was pretty much stating, like, I feel like I just had to go with my gut feeling, essentially. And you're not wrong for that. But Andreina was like, we're not blaming you. And Chelley's like, you're not a villain. But Huda then, she crying. Huda is crying hard. And she's talking about how he's going to act when he finds out. How y'all think Taylor going to act when he finds out? But then again, we'll wait to the end. But she's crying. They end up having Chelley read the text, which I thought was so messy. Like, why would y'all have her read this text pretty much asking if the boys have a stronger connection with Olandria to stand up? Because we all knew it wasn't going to happen. So Chelley and Huda, they crying hard as fuck now. Iris then gets a text stating that Olandria has been dumped from, well, I don't know if they said dumps. There was wording that was stated. My sister mentioned it later on, but they stated something along the lines of her having to leave immediately. They didn't say she was dumped from the island, but we'll get to that in a minute. But Chelley immediately beelines over there to Olandria. And that right there pulled at my heartstrings, man. I'm not a crier, but that shit about moved me because it's like, and I know I got a lot of black women watching this, and I know black men too. Y'all can understand this. There is nothing like going into an experience with somebody that is fully of your experience that you have there. And you can tell the two of them, as I said all season, I love when they just have those conversations and we get to see it. There's nothing like having that. And I'm pretty sure with women, and I know because I have a sister, I got a lot of black women around me, and I know that camaraderie that y'all have is unbreakable, especially when you have somebody that you truly can trust, that truly understands everything that you got going on in your life, somebody that you can just completely feel comfortable with. You don't have to kind of like code switch. You don't have to hold back from what you really feeling because you might be labeled as aggressive or you might be labeled as a bitch. I truly enjoyed the two of them, their connection, their vibe this season. It's kind of reminiscent to Serena and Janae, but even better, honestly, because these two didn't have any kind of friction. Even though Serena and Janae had their little moment, But these two, it's just like they locked in hard from the beginning. They just had each other's back the whole time. And it was just beautiful to watch. It was beautiful to watch. Both of those girls are beautiful, drop dead gorgeous. But everybody comes running up behind Chelley, and they're all bear hugging Olandria. Every last one of them girls is crying, which says the impact that Olandria has in that house. And we all knew it. Olandria gave off like the mom vibe or like the big sister vibe. And you could just tell by the way those girls was reacting. And they started to, in this moment, I could tell they were starting to get her a little bit emotional, but she was holding it together. But Iris gets that text, and Amaya then says that Taylor's going to crash out. Is he? Is he going to crash out? Huda's crying, stating that this is the hardest goodbye. And I believe her. I believe Huda. Because even though Huda did what she did at the beginning of the season, Huda, as we all know, goes to Olandria and Taylor to vent about her issues. And like I said, and it's funny because how she was trying to claim her and Jeremiah were like the mom and dad couple. Even though Taylor's not really a dad vibe, but I mean, they moved like that because when they were together, that's when they were helping Huda. But I can tell Huda looks at Olandria as like a big sister. And that girl was crying like a baby. Like, boo-hoo, crying. Like, doing all of that. But they finally ended up getting Olandria crying a little bit. And that made me sad. I'm like, no, not Olandria. But Chelley, she ends up stating in her confessionals that Olandria is like a sister to her. Like I just stated. You could tell, like, that hurt her. And I hated seeing it. But they send her off. Olandria and her, she tells Chelley to tell Taylor that she misses him as she's hugging her on her way out. But she says her goodbye. She leaves with class. She tells them not to ruin their makeup, stop crying. And she left strong. But when she got in them confessionals, she got emotional. And that right there kind of broke my heart a bit. Because she talks about how she's been single for 5 years and it felt like this time she was getting it right. And that right there really made me sad because it's like we all know she thought she was, but she really wasn't. And it just made me feel bad. But I'm like, damn. But we get over to the villa. The energy was different over there. This one was sad, but this one was like, oh, shit, what's about to happen? So TJ's in the front. Same situation. Vanna ends up standing up for him. And I was like, Ace is single and vulnerable. I would fucking holler if this nigga gets sent the fuck out of here. And I was like, I kind of want to see it happen. So he goes up there. And he's vulnerable now, so they just trickle it down. It's like dominoes. Because I was sitting there thinking, okay, so Ace is here. Coco is probably going to get up, which is then going to leave Taylor single, karma, because that's one of the trio that was single, one of the trio that was single. And I was like, okay, so if Taylor's single, then Clarke going to get up, who's sitting there with Nick, karma again. Because Nick also was in that trio that did that shit with Jeremiah, that hater shit. So I was like, then he will be single, then we'll see what the fuck happens. Let's see what the fuck happened. So Coco gets up. She goes over there with Ace, so they're now coupled up, which then leaves Taylor single. So Taylor gets up. Taylor goes over there. Clarke gets up, which was funny, though, because Nick is sitting there whispering her, don't get up, don't leave me. You knew she was leaving you. So she gets up. Her and Taylor are coupled. Nick gets up, and they read that text. Like, if any of you ladies here have a connection that's stronger with Nick, stand up. And they had that camera on Jaden the whole time, and she's sitting there looking like she thinking and thinking hard. I said, is she about to get up? And then I was like, is she not about to get up? Her ass stays seated. I said, what the fuck? Me and my sister was sitting there with our mouths on the floor for like a good 30 seconds. A good 30 seconds. I was like, damn, what the fuck? I was like, this shit is crazy. I was like, Cierra gonna crash the fuck out. So, and then I immediately was like, that's what your fake ass gets. Like, justice for Jeremiah. Jeremiah gets his karma immediately. I was like, yes. Yes, karma's a bitch. Because Ace and Taylor was over there crying too. I was like, oh, this is about to be funny. But Jaden is sitting there crying too. I'm like, what you crying for? But they sitting there watching him pay. So Nick goes over there and says that he didn't get to do his date with Cierra. And I'm like, whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? You should have locked in when you needed to lock in. But the boys, they're hugging him and whatever, and they take a final photo booth. Now, this is when the shit got crazy. Nick goes and walks out, and I noticed, I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Because Nick didn't get an interview where he states his final thoughts as everybody does when they get dumped from the island. So I was like, what the fuck is happening? So then the music changes, and then we see a black car pulling up. I was like, is Belle-A in here? That's what I was thinking. I was like, is she in here? And then I was like, So he goes, and he's standing outside. The door opens up. Guess who is in that fucking car? Olandria. I was like, Nicolandria fans is about to go crazy because where the fuck are they going? And then I'm like, what is happening? What is happening? I lost my mind. And they finally turned Casa more this season into something to watch. Because what the fuck is about to happen on Thursday? I don't know. But if y'all got here, y'all tell me what y'all think. Because this was a good episode. It ended very, very good. Very good. Thumbs up the video, y'all. Drop a comment down below. Go head over to my TikTok. Go show some love over there. Subscribe. We on the road to 10K. We are like 120 away. And what else do I want to say? We going live. Me and Elise going live tomorrow. So if y'all weren't there last week, be there. We going to be there at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So be there. And let's talk about it. We got some shit to talk about. Let's go.